Yeah, so in today class, we will try to cover the three topics. The first topic we are going to cover is MDM SaaS project overview. So we can understand how we are going to implement MDM SaaS real-time project and what are the different features needed to be implemented and how it looks like. So this will be the first topic. Second topic, we will go for resume preparation discussion. And third, we will discuss few interview questions and answers. So these are three different topics which we are going to cover today. So let's start with MDM SaaS project overview. So I will explain one of the live project, which we worked earlier and we implemented in MDM SaaS. So let's try to understand what details we had and what were the actual requirement in that project. So let's suppose client name is XYZ. I have given any a random name. I'm not giving the actual name. So client name is XYZ Pharma. So that was basically the pharma client. And the project name was Global Customer and Product MDM Implementation. So that was the global implementation. So for all the country, for all the region. And the platform we had used as Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS. And that was for a scratch implementation. That was not a migration, not an enhancement. So that was for a scratch implementation. Okay. And there we had the business entities. So how we created business entity at the time of our different tutorials and classes. So in the same way, we will create this business entity. So what business entity we had? So mainly we had two business entity, which was customer and product. So basically there we had created a customer master and product master. And we had a two type of customers in pharma. That is one is called SEO. This is basically called healthcare professionals, and this is healthcare. Sorry, not this would be SEO, not ACP. So it is they are called healthcare organization. For example, we can say this is hospital, hospital clinics. This all will be treated as a healthcare organization. They are also a kind of one customer for the pharma company. And in healthcare professionals, we can say that patients, patients will be
Okay.
one. Yeah, I will give a time for the questions. Please don't interrupt in between. So I will give a time for the question and answer. So let's cover a few things, then we'll come on the question and answer. So SCP healthcare professionals like patients and all will be called as a healthcare professional organization, SEO, healthcare organization like hospitals and clinics. They will also be a one kind of customer. So they will be treated as uh, a kind of SEO type of customer. Then we will have product address, product type, substance type, ingredients, raw materials, locations, and distribution points. So these are the other business entity we have within that MDM project landscape. So this will hold the address detail of the customers. This will hold product type. This will hold substance. Substance means what will be the content of product. So substance is a kind of chemical products, chemical kind of ingredients. So here we have ingredients, here we have substance, then we have product. So ingredients and we have raw materials as well. So suppose if there is a paracetamol tablet which someone is manufacturing. So for paracetamol, we will call as one of the product of the company. And substance like there will be multiple chemical what we say chemical products will be involved for making that paracetamol tablet. So those chemical products like there will be a kind of organic chemical products. So those chemical products will be called as a substance. Ingredients, so whatever ingredients needed for making that chemical substance, that will be called as a ingredients. And actual raw materials, which we get directly from the farmers or customers or from third country company, that is we call as a raw materials. So first we get the raw materials, then we create some ingredients, and from the ingredients we create the substance, and from the substance we create the product. So that's why we have the different business entity to store those information as well. Then we will have a location and distribution point. This is for marketing purpose. Like if you are launching a product in the different country at different locations, then we can store those details. So these are high level business entity we have. Apart from that, we had some reference data, which will store kind of static information, which will not basically change. So this was, we had country information, we had gender, we had customer type, product list, product code, and substance code. So this information was a kind of static information, which was changing very rarely. And the update was also very rare. So this information we have stored in the reference 360 as part of reference data. Now let's try to understand what were the actual use case we had from the business side. Like what were the actual demand from business side that after this MDM implementation, what they're looking for. So business is looking for, since this was mostly based on the product life cycle. So they are looking that if they are creating any product, if the XYZ pharma company is launching any product, then there should be some kind of platform where they can raise product launching request. And after launching, if they want to activate that product in the respective country, so they can raise a request for activation of the new product in the new country. And after a few years, if they want to withdraw their project or if they want to deactivate that product, then in that case, they can also raise the deactivation of the product. Okay, so basically, they had three high-level requirement. Apart from that, they had a requirement like uh, how they can create a product, can create product, can create, update, delete. These three options we had create. So that we can do from product 360 update, delete. So they can basically update the details of the product from product 360. So that was also available. Apart from that, we had the hierarchy also. So business wants to see the hierarchy of products. Like the demand was for they want to see country-wise hierarchy and distribution point-wise hierarchy. And then there was a crosswalk. So crosswalk was also there. So crosswalk means just we can, if you know the kind of product detail, you can see the substance. So crosswalk was in between product and substance, and also it was for substance and ingredients. So some crosswalk was also there. Business wants to see like for this product, what are the substances are related, and for this substance, what are the ingredients are related. So they can visualize that through the crosswalk, and in hierarchy also they can see these things. So if they want to see country-wise how many products are there in the market and how many products are there distribution point-wise. So distribution point and country could be different because if the geography is bigger, like for India and US, so they can have the multiple distribution point. But if countries are small, like Singapore and many Gulf country we have, so they can combine the multiple country and they can create one distribution point. So distribution point could be multiple in one country, and it we can combine multiple country to make one distribution point. So this is a part of sales team how they are planning. And other stakeholders who was involved in this project was product specialist. So there will be a product specialist on global level first, and there will be a product specialist on the country wise also. So if some product they are launching first time in the United States, so the product specialist will come in picture and he will get the approval option. So once this what we say data steward will raise the request for the new product in the system, then it will go for the different approval option. So in that project, we had a kind of four level approvals. So first, it was going to the product specialist. Product specialist will visualize the details of the product. If something is not correct, he will send back, and again update will happen. If that is fine, then it will be sent to the kind of industrial specialist, and then it will be sent to the kind of regulatory specialist, and then it will be finally sent to the lunch team. So there will be a lunch team also who will finally launch the product. So they will be the final approval stakeholder who will take the action at the end if all the kind of prerequisite has been done. So once they will approve that product, then that product will be launched in the respective country. So basically, this one we had implemented events option. So through the events, we had set up different kind of approval options. So there are two level approval, four level approval. So with the help of that, we are given the different, we have created the different kind of users and roles for these stakeholders. And we had configured that four level approvals for the respective stakeholders for these all the requests. And it was routing to the means specific stakeholders for the approval and all. And here number of sources also we had. So let me list down some sources here. So business entity before that, yeah, we can list down sources here. Sources, source systems. So source system we had like Viva. Viva, we used to get the request. CRM, they have internal source. We used to get some file in the CSV also on ad hoc request. And then they had one more source that was called uh, CNS or CMB something. So they had five different sources. One source was DNB something, Don and Bertsman something. So they had five different sources through which they used to get the data. And this data integration, we had used IACS ETL. So for ETL, as we know that ETL will be mandatory in all the MDM project. So for ETL, we had used IACS, which is IACS IDMC. So for ETL, we had used IACS. There we had means done the proper connectivity between the sources and all, and then we pumped the data to Business 360 with the help of ETL. So these are the high level details we had in the project. We should know the project name, project platform, sources, different business entities, different reference data if you have, and what were the actual use cases you had implemented. So these are the use cases we had, and there was multiple stakeholders involved in the project. So these are the stakeholders we had. So now I'll take a pause and I will give opportunity to you guys to discuss some questions on this.
Yeah, Sujit, on business entities point of view, let's say you created a separate address. That address is organization or customer address.
This was customer address. So organization
Yeah,
also will
that.
have address. So
Mhm.
basically here we had segregated this SU and SCP into kind of separate staging tables. And then later we had one single customer 360. Within that we had merged the data.
Yeah,
So
my question is because this address is part of customer or organization entity, right? Why it is
right.
separated in similarly product type, substance type, and all those are part of product entity. That's how
Yeah.
it should
So
be, right?
yeah. So what the demand we had like for the respective product, here we will have only product details. They don't want to merge the substance detail within the product. Huh? So that's why we have segregated this means all the what you say business entities separately. So their demand
Ah,
was that this all should be separate and so that we can means apply the kind of rules separately on the business entity. So that's why we had splitted this all part separately.
but how do you relate that? Let's say now address to customer or organization entity. How do you relate that?
So we had created this all business entity standalone, and then we had created a relationship between the, sorry, a defined hierarchy between that. And through that hierarchy, business used to navigate from one entity to other entity. So if they want to see that for particular customer, what are the addresses associated, so they
Mhm.
can search that entity and they can go in hierarchy and they can see how many addresses are associated. Or for particular product, they can open the product from the product 360 and they can see this product is associated with how many substance. This substance having how many ingredients. This ingredients how many raw materials. So like that we can means configure multi-level of hierarchy, and through that we can switch from one entity to other entity.
Is that a right design, Sujit?
See, design depends on the means customer demand. So they had a requirement like they want to split these all details separately, and the main reason was that they had I've listed here only I think uh, 5 to 6 stakeholders, but in real time they had more than 150 stakeholders. So 150 stakeholders like for lunch team. So they had a separate lunch team for all the country. They had separate specialist, industrial specialist for other all the country. Okay. So these stakeholders I have given on very high level. But suppose they have a business in different 100 country. So for the different 100 country, they have all the teams separately. Like for the smaller country, they have combined one distribution point, and there they have the one team. Like for a smaller country, but for multiple country, they have the multiple team also. So, due to this number of huge roles we had for the respective users, we had splitted this so that we can easily point out those roles to the respective set of records. That's why we had splitted this all the information. So here, their actual kind of requirement was to just create the master of customer and product. They're not bothering about the master of this address and other things. They are just storing those details so that because substance and others we not used to receive multiple records from the multiple source. So the main entity here was customer and product. We had these two main entity. Other was kind of child entity we had, and we had a very less records. The frequency of the records were very less.
Now, let's say tomorrow, if you want to publish this to any consuming systems, how do you combine all of them and publish as one entity, one unit?
So for consumption or for publish what we can do for publish in the event, whatever business entity we have to publish that separately, and we will have some common business ID in between that, so that they can combine and they can again consume through the ETL. So these are the standalones. So these are not similar to the kind of what we say. We had created a big list and we had created a field group and all. So there they were not interested to combine these entity. So that's why we in customer we had some field group and all, like in address we had email address. So for emails we had, for phones we had. So few of the items that we had combined internally in the respective business entity as part of field group. But this was the main information they had, so they wanted that separately.
So, is there any attribute in address or sub-entity which will, like a foreign key to the parent? Is there any
Yeah, yeah. So
identifier?
that part was taken care in the ETL before pushing data in MDM SaaS. And there we had make sure that there will be some common key between this customer, organization, product and all. So whatever dependent business entity we had, so we had associated some common key so that if it will go in MDM, so we can define the hierarchy so that we can relate to one entity to other entity. And if we also want to publish to downstream applications, so they must have some common key between the respective business entities. So that was taken care in the ETL before dumping data in MDM.
So, and end user business users, they were using customer 360 and product 360 UI consoles for their,
Right, right.
okay.
So that association and common key was taken care before dumping data in MDM, because as we know that in MDM we don't have some feature of creating primary key, foreign key and all. So that was taken care before dumping data in MDM as part of our data model. And then actual business entity was customer and product. For that we had used customer 360 and product 360, so that we can search the records and then we can see the other details. If we have defined hierarchy and all, we can easily navigate from one entity to other entity and all, and like that.
Now, let's say, for example, Sujit, if they would have combined everything into, the root level entity, let's say customer, organization, and product, only three. If they would have combined everything under those three entities, what was the issue?
Issue and we can easily combine, but actually what they had earlier, they had a plan that they are going to implement. Yeah, so they are going to, they had a plan that they will implement this in MDM on premises earlier. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So accordingly, they had segregated this all the information, but the later the plan got changed and they thought that let's do one implementation in MDM SaaS. That was the new implementation. So we had not given much effort for means redesigning this data model and all and combining those all the things. So whatever plan we had, just we translated that in MDM SaaS.
But as per your understanding, if even if you club everything under root customer organization product, still that will, whatever the requirement they have, we can implement that, right?
Yeah, that we can implement because we have the option. But we the big challenge was with the roles and what we say users, na. So here in
Mm.
the stakeholders was very huge. So
Mm-hmm.
creating this kind of suppose there is a lunch team who are only interested to see particular segment of substance
Okay.
and some segment of product. So if all data would be combined in one kind of business entity,
Uh-huh.
then we could face some slowness or performance issue. That we had a worry. We had actually not done the POC, but we had a worry that if 100 roles I'm giving, and suppose if 20 users are logging at the same time and doing the kind of things on the same business entity, then we could have the performance issue. So we thought let's try to segregate some segment of data in the different business entity, and then we will give the access to respective business entity. So the although the performance was very bad in that case also, but it was better than means what we expected if we combined entire thing.
And also maybe different stakeholders, they want to see some part of the data. Let's say in this case, let's say productized subtype, substance. They want to see only that data. If you club everything under one entity, then restricting other entities also will become a big challenge, right? I guess.
Right, right. And also, there was a main challenge of kind of performance. But I think if we have suppose 100 attributes in one business entity, and if you would like to only expose a few list of the business attributes to one user, that we can do. That's not a problem. That we have the options, so that we can do. But only problem is that, like, if you are giving access 10 users to play on the same kind of object, then the chances of performance slowness is higher. But if you are splitting that one object in five different objects, and in place of playing in one object, they are playing on the five different objects, then the performance would be little better. So that
Oh,
understanding we had in our mind.
okay, okay. And if you split that entity into multiple sub-entities, so we need to, there should be some ID which will link between
Right,
the
right.
parent and
There
child.
should be some idea who can combine the consolidate all those
Uh,
information. So that we have to take care for as part of our ETL only.
And while to display the entire entity in the UI, so we need to, in the pages, we need to club all the parent and child sub-entities together.
Right, right, right.
Okay.
So that were the high level project details we had, so that you guys can also means elaborate. And I think if you guys, this will be helpful for the non-MDM guy who are first time exploring in MDM. So that will be helpful for them. But if you guys are from MDM background, I will always recommend that whatever project you work, just you change the platform name. In place of MDM on premises, you just can say that I worked on, we implemented this on MDM cloud SaaS, especially Scratch implementation is easy to say because there will be less challenge in a Scratch. But yes, if there will be migration or enhancement, something thing, enhancement is also easier because enhancement means suppose we have 100 attribute for one business entity, we have deleted few, we have added something. So that part also you can explain. But migration, yeah, for migration we have to be prepared with means very good questions because they will ask all those scenario basically like how you handle this one, how you handle this one. So there we will have more questions. So for the first time people who entered in MDM, they can say that just I have implemented this as criteria implementation, and the project high level overview why this. So in any MDM project, we must give some detail of the source system, like these are the source system through which we used to get the data. At least 5 to 7 source system, no need to give 20, 30 source system. So basically in most of the project, we observe that the sources will be 5, 8, 10, 12, 15, up to that is enough. Okay. And then we must explain some business entity, and there should we should give some idea of the ETL tools as well, because ETL tool is a key role for all the MDM project. So if you are familiar with Power Center or IACS, you can means give more details of what you implemented. You can create scenario by yourself, which you can explain in more detail if you are confident, and you can just explain. So this is a high level detail on the MDM SaaS project overview. Now, second point, we can move on related to resume preparation. So in resume preparation, as we know that I think most of you are senior guys, so already you have taken the interview of the many kind of candidates in your project and your company. So first we see the kind of keywords, right? Keywords are very important in resume. What kind of keywords it should reflect in our resume? Or if we are kind of evaluating any candidate, so first what keyword we look for in the resume so that we can understand that this guy looks like has worked for the MDM SaaS or MDM on-premises or any kind of product, right? So for MDM SaaS, what keyword we actually look for? Like we will see that the technology. So technology or platform, what we say, we will see what he has used. So first we have to mention Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS. Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS we had used. So this one we can mention in our resume for technology and platform. And yeah, then we need to mention the kind of IDMC other tools, IDMC other tools which we had used. So we'll clearly mention technology platform, Informatica MDM Cloud SaaS, IDMC other tools what we had used. So we can mention like CDI, cloud data integration, then data quality, then data profiling, and yeah, these three we had used ETL, data quality, data profiling. Then we had used customer 360, like for the above project, whatever we understood, it was customer 360. Then it was product 360. So at least these tools we can use. Apart from that, in MDM, we need administrator also, right? Administrator also. So in administrator, what we did, we install secure agent and all. We created user rules and also administrator part we can explain. So at least these tools we have to mention that within the IDMC we had used these tools. So this will clearly mean so that you have worked for the MDM size project and you have used these IDMC tools. Then we can mention some certifications if we have MDM's certifications, if whatever you have. So like we had completed Informatica MDM SaaS Foundation level certification. So that you can mention, you can attach in the resume at the down of the resume. Or if you have other certifications also related to Informatica on-premises, also you can mention it here. Because if we are adding some details in resume and saying that I am the guy who was working in MDM on-premises from last 10 years, and just from last 2 years, I'm working for the MDM SaaS. So that will be a great kind of value added for the particular person because they will understand that this guy is from the MDM background. That means he's already expert on the MDM concepts and all. Just the platforms are changing. So for platform also he's working from last 2 years. That means he has already done some implementation. So that will be a kind of positive outlook for your resume. So MDM site certification we can mention, and other keywords we can mention like business entities, whatever business entity you have kind of created. So don't mention any landing table, a stage table, mappings, the subject. Don't mention any on-premises thing within this project. So we have to mention all the objects which we kind of used in MDM SaaS. So we have to use those objects. Like we have created business entities, entity like customer, then organization. So they can say this customer organization was already available. So why not utilize that? So we can say we had utilized, we had not created it from scratch, and we had added few columns and fields, then location, etc. So we have to mention we had created these all the business entity. Then we had defined trust and validation, trust and validation rule. So trust and validation, you can give any example, like for these sources we had, before that we have to define the sources in the MDM, okay? So created above sources. How to create the source system in MDM SaaS? So we know the steps from Business 360. We did all the things. So with the help of Business 360, uh, perform below kind of perform below activity. So we are mentioning that with the help of Business 360, perform below activity. What we did, we created multiple business entity, we created the sources, we defined the trust and validation rule. So that is more clear that we had used Business 360 for that. And then we had defined multiple match and merge rule, multiple match and merge rule, define multiple and match rule, okay. And then after defining match and merge, we need to define different job also, right? Like defined and configured different jobs, different batch jobs, like ingress job, import jobs. What kind of jobs you configured? So they will ask ingress job, egress job. Then we had egress, egress jobs. Then we had what jobs? We had match only job, match only jobs. Then we had merge only jobs. Some places we had configured match and merge together, merge and merge jobs. So these are the jobs at least we can mention that yes, these jobs we had configured and we had executed to the business 360 to perform the respective activity. And then what we had done? Then we had configured crosswalk and hierarchy. Not crosswalk, let's mention hierarchy and relationship. Hierarchy and relationship. These all keywords we have to mention in our resume so that it will give the positive impact of the MDM SaaS. Configure hierarchy and relationships. And after that, what we did after configuring hierarchy and relationship, so set up to a step and for a step uh, approval task in events. Okay. Before that, here we define few kind of data quality rules also. So after source systems and all, here we define some data quality rule. Created some applet in CDI and call that applet in DQ. What purpose we had created this maplet for suppose first name last name standardization, first name last name standardization. cleansing or standardization or something. Okay, and then the DQ rule was called in MDM Business 360. Okay, so whatever DQ rules we had created that was called in the Business 360. So this will look like you have used some CDI mappings. We had created some maplet. That maplet we called in the DQ, and with the help of that DQ tools, we call that particular function in the Business 360. Then we had set up two-step, four-step approval task in events. That what we did. Apart from that, we created reports and dashboards. Created reports and dashboards to see country-wise product. You can give some reports name, country-wise products to see complete MDM landscape, complete MDM landscape stats. Like that, we can mention more reports, more use cases, so that we can showcase that we had created reports and dashboard also in our project. Then the most important thing, the REST API. REST API, you have to more focus on that, because now this API being used at multiple places. So because we are showing our resume as a technical person, right? Technical architect, technical developer, and all. So we have to use this REST API as well. So REST API, what kind of REST API we had used? REST API used with help of Postman. Postman, right? But we can mention few REST API, like we had created records, updated records, deleted records. Then we had search view and search records, right? Then we had done the match. Then we had done the merge and then merge, right? So these are all things we had done. We had see the hierarchy, and also through the API, what you can do, we can see job details to the API. So these all options, things we can mention, like we did for this with the help of REST API within this MDM SaaS, and we had used the Postman too. Okay. Then what we did after this API class, what we covered in our tutorial, I'm mentioning those points where you have a little background and where you have some knowledge, so that if they are asking some cross questions, so at least you can justify. And also, these are very, very practical points which we are mentioning. This will be used in all the MDM projects. This which are completely associated with MDM SaaS projects. So these pointers are also enough. If you are mentioning this much pointer, that's also enough. But just try to kind of have the depth knowledge on this all the pointers, so that if they're asking questions, we can tell the steps. We can tell the kind of justify them that yes, really we had worked on that, and we can uh, give some summary or some kind of use cases also if they're asking. So I think this will be enough for the resume preparation. You just mentioned the platform, IDMC, other tools, MDM SaaS certifications. If you have, then you can mention these all the things. Apart from that, yeah, so already we have mentioned that CDI and all. We used customer 360, customer 360, and product 360 for content to see data, create data, merge, whatever you did from customer 360, merge, unmerge, also file import, right? So these are all things you can mention what you did with the help of customer 360, product 360. Used reference 360 for what? For creating the reference objects. reference reference objects like what we created, like gender, country, product category, etc. You can mention. So we had used the reference 360 also, and using administrator, what we had done kind of install, downloaded, secure agent, and install it. Install it for multiple environment. Multiple environment in bracket you can mention like for dev, for QA, for fraud, etc. At least we can mention. Okay. Then created within this administrator we can mention created multiple users created user defined roles. That's are the high level details on the administrator part we did. So I think these are the enough for us to mention it for any project in the resume. And this one, this same point you can replicate for the other projects also. Some of the pointer you can just change, but this will be enough means keywords and details about any MDM SaaS project. So I'll take a pause here. If you have any question, we can discuss on this part. If you guys want to add something, we can add it here if you feel that something we have missed. So that's fine. So I think we completed the resume preparation part. So this document I will share. So this will be helpful for you to understand MDM SaaS project overview. This first point. And then second, we will have a kind of second, we will have this resume preparation pointers. And third, now we can go for this interview questions discussion. Interview questions. So interview questions, I can see that mostly they are asking, first of all, migration related things. So they will have most of the questions on how you are migrating, like how you are migrating or migrate, how you migrated. This is a very common question nowadays. How migrated MDM on-prem project to MDM SaaS, MDM Cloud. What challenge that you faced? This is a very common question nowadays. So for migration, we can recap the steps what we had discussed in our migration class. So those all the steps we can mention. What challenges you faced? So challenges basically we face in migration that we have the limitations in the MDM SaaS for match and merge rule. So we try to replicate the same kind of match and merge logics we had in on-premises. So we try to rewrite the logic in MDM SaaS to achieve the same kind of result. But we are unable to kind of capture some of the scenario. So for that scenario, we had created a simple kind of match rule that will be passed to that will be used for the manual matching. So if we are not sure for some of the scenario where our match rule is not perfect, where we are not able to catch those records, so those record we can push in the manual merge queue where data steward team or kind of some product specialist team will evaluate that record manually and then they will take action on that. So this is the first challenge we face. Second challenge, we have the difference in the data model. So whatever data model we have in our on-premises, so we have difference in the data model in cloud, like customer 360, product 360. So we say that manually we created few business entity, we added few attributes in the existing data model, we removed few attributes which were not needed. So these are all things we can say to solve this gap. And third, like we had the mapping in MDM SaaS. So through the mapping, we had done some data standardization, data cleansing in MDM on premises. But that the kind of features we don't had in the Business 360. So we unable to replicate those kind of things in MDM. So for that gap, we had used CDI mapping and data quality. And there we had embedded those logics. And with the help of that, we had achieved our on-premises logic in the MDM landscape. So those are all challenges we can mention. Then the common question is explain your last MDM SaaS implementation, last MDM cloud SaaS implementation project details. This is a very common question for any other technology also. If you go for suppose ETL developer, they always ask like can give some high level detail where you what you did in the last project, right? So there in for these questions, try to means memorize these all the steps. Try to tell all the things one by one in a stepwise so that you can consume some time like 5 minutes, 6 minutes. You can give some name like I did this, I created a business entity this with the help of business entity, I created this rule for this purpose and all. So you can summarize these all points one by one for this the answer of this question. Okay. And here we can give a kind of positive outlook to interviewer that yes, looks like this guy has completely worked because he's telling all the means realistic and useful points related to the MDM SaaS. So from there, your means positive outlook will start. But if you will just see one or two pointer out of this and we will stop, then they will have a doubt. They will again start grilling more. Okay. So at least we should be confident on these all the pointers. We have to memorize this for first time. Okay, we have to memorize that what we have to say because this will be useful in all interview. If you are going for any MDM SaaS customer product, we have to tell these all the pointers. So from there, our further discussion will start. They will ask some cross question within that, so that is fine. We can justify that if they ask some steps, they ask some use cases and all, so that we can further explain. So explain your last MDM Cloud SaaS implementation project result, so that you can mention this one completely. So in your resume, if you are mentioning this project, like this project I did, so you can mention these pointers and these are the business entity, these are the kind of stakeholders you had, these are the sources you had. So all things you can mention. You can take 5-10 minute time and you can nicely explain those all the things. Then what are the different API you use? What is API available in MDM SaaS? So we can say we have the different REST API. So for REST API also we have discussed multiple time like what are the REST API we use for what purposes and how you configure the REST API using the Postman. Because most of the time we face some challenge here. Okay. So what is the API available in MDM and what tool you are using for request and response for for API. So here we can say Postman and for Postman how you configured it. How you configured it. So as we know, we just downloaded it. Then we had imported one file, and after importing that file, what we did, we had first step as a user login. So in user login, we have to pass user ID and password, and from there we will get two things. What are two things? So let me ask the question to some of you. So like if this question is being asked, how you guys are going to answer? Like what steps you did to work with Postman for the API purpose? What step you will give? Please give me some points on that if you guys remember.
Yeah, I remember, Vijay.
Yeah.
So usually, once we give our credentials, it will get generated the instant ID. So for that
Mm.
instant ID, we'll pass it into the body, and then we'll from there onwards we'll use the request.
Right, correct. And apart from that, we will get one base URL also. Okay. So
Yes.
once we pass user ID and password in the login request, then we get two important uh, response. One is request ID, which you said, and second is base URL. Okay, so base URL will be always different for the different environment for different projects. Okay, so we have to make two changes in the base URL, what we have discussed, and after making that change, then that base URL you can use in the all REST API for the respective purposes. Okay, so this thing we have to explain. Apart from that, what kind of like you had active VOS in MDM, you had active VOS in MDM on-prem. How we can configure workflow? How we can configure workflow in MDM cloud? MDM cloud. Okay. So this will also they try to test that have you done configured any two-step, four-step approval workflow or not? So whatever events option we had, so that event option we can explain it there for the one step, two step, and four step, and we had customize option also. So at least if you have not worked for customize, you will not go in that challenge. So just we can say we had used out of box MDM workflow, two step and four step that we can explain. We can explain the steps what we have, so that steps I followed for doing that configuration. Like we had created the different users, different roles, and that roles we had associated for the respective approval option. Like when first approval, which user we want, second approval, which user we want, third approval, which user. So we can associate the respective users for the respective stages of approval while configuring in the events. So five questions. These are the five kind of very common question I observed they are asking. Apart from that, Srini, we attended some interview, so you can give some highlight on the interview questions.
Yeah,
Any
yeah.
one of
So
you attended,
they
you
will
can.
little bit deep dive into whatever the project we explained, right?
Uh,
So they will little bit deep dive,
yeah,
like the migration point of view, they were asking, okay, how did you maintain the business IDs or the P keys? So did you use the ROID objects, what we have in the on-prem, or any unique column, or how did you define the P keys? That's one thing they are. And how do we replicate load by row ID concept, what we have in on-prem? So how do you do that in a cloud platform? Maybe I think that is related to, I mean, based on peaky source object is what we need to do. I think that's the answer for that.
how did you
And
replicate load? Just a minute, load by row ID. Okay, yeah.
yeah, that's what. And what are the challenge? I mean, volume of data. So they were focusing on if it is a huge volume, like of 10 million, 20 million, 40 million records, about the performance. So how was it? I think there was few questions around that.
Okay. Volume of data you worked and impact of performance. That is very good
Yeah,
question.
yeah, because that's one thing. And yeah, so when we migrated from on-prem to cloud, right? So did you redefine the match rules when we migrate from on-prem to cloud? Did we redefine the match rules and rerun that all the match and merge? I mean, the consolidation process. That was also one question. And there were questions around how did you achieve the data quality functionalities? What is there in the on-prem?
How to achieve data quality functionality in a sorry, functionality. in MDM SaaS.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah,
And
thanks,
one
Rini,
can,
for giving these questions. Yeah.
yeah, and other questions, yeah, like, okay, basic questions like, what is business entity? How do you configure? How do you make usable the data UI? Those things. I think those are all straightforward, basic questions, I think.
Yeah,
But
these are basic questions.
yeah,
How to create and configure. Yeah, thanks, Srini. If other person also had attended some interview, we can gather some questions from you, which will be helpful for all of us.
yeah.
So
And
mostly
on,
the question are very common. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. On CA also, they were asking some questions. Like,
Okay.
okay,
So
uh, did you create any custom workflows for the integration? And they were asking real-time integration with the Salesforce. Do you have any exposure on the Salesforce? That's one question. And also,
yes.
uh, I mean, the UI level validations. Let's say, for example, on the UI level, right? So we need to validate, for example, let's say for a particular customer, address is mandatory. So they cannot skip creating address or at the field level validations. They need to uh, um, maybe let's say DNB they want to integrate or maybe some third party tools, right? Let's say email verification or phone number verification they want to do. So how do we achieve that?
Okay. So we had discussed also RBAC, role-based access control also here.
Yeah, that is access related. But
Yeah.
let's say I entered an email
Yeah, I
address.
understood that validation. Yeah.
Yeah, how
Validation
do you?
also, we had seen that we can control, we can make few fields as a mandatory and all, and we can apply some kind of logic also, like full name we want to populate through some logic. Then we can call those DQ rules, and with the help of DQ rules, we can achieve that.
Hmm.
And
So do you have?
maybe the question, yeah, maybe
Yeah,
the
Karuna,
question.
please speak a little loudly.
Okay. Can you hear me, Sujit? Huh? So maybe the
Yeah, we can.
question to maybe they might ask like, did you know what is the estimated that you feel like, from on-premise to cloud? Like maybe the overall estimate, like, it's a general question. They might ask like,
Estimation, like you are saying that efforts, right?
yeah,
Efforts of the
usually they like,
implementation, right?
yeah, yeah, just a
That is
general,
good
they
question.
might
Like,
say,
what differences you see
yeah.
or differences you observed for on-prem and MDM
Correct.
SaaS project
Good,
in
good question. Hmm.
project efforts, right? Effort wise, what differences you observe?
Yeah, effort wide and also yeah, as a tool, right? As a technical differences, not of the
Mm,
functional. What technical differences you see from on-prem to cloud? I think that was also a question.
right. What technical differences you see between on-prem
Yeah,
and
in one interview they were asking match level, right? Match columns, right? Till what
Mhm.
level we can configure. Now let's say in on-prem, I don't think so. We have any limitation. If you have a child, I mean parent, child, grandchild, even that
Yeah,
level column we can use for matching. But in cloud, it's only two levels, parent and child. Only two levels only we can use.
right. So currently we have only two levels
Yeah.
in MDM cloud. We have two levels columns can be used in match parent and child. Yeah. So I think these questions, at least if you are preparing before going to interview, so I think this will be give you enough confidence because this out of this definitely they will ask for five questions because some of the questions are very common, like explain your project and how to migrate on prem to on cloud, what means the challenges you face, No, no, UI level, how you apply validation. So, okay. So these are the questions are enough and to give some kind of insight like what you are going to see in the interview. So this will be the kind of sample questions which we are going to observe and try to complete at least one project in mind that you are going to explain, and you must have these names also with business entity and use cases so that they can understand really you have worked for the project. Then you should have these pointers about your project, should be ready in mind. And for these questions, we have to be prepared in advance so that we should have some confidence that we can explain something. So I think that's it from my side related to project overview and resume preparation and a few interview questions we discussed. So this is the, I think,